This right here is the brand new Matribox 2 Pro pedal from Sonicake. And this is the third installment of their multi-effects processing pedals, obviously following the original Matribox, the Matribox 2, and now the Matribox 2 Pro. And if you're not familiar with multi-effects processing pedals, basically in this thing right here is so many different amps, cabs, effects, everything like that. You name it, this thing probably has it built in. And as well as so many different factory preset sounds already in this thing, there is also loads of slots for you to create your own custom presets. Basically, any sound that you want to get on your guitar, you can probably create with this thing. I've already made videos about the original Matribox and the Matribox 2, so obviously today we're going to be checking out this one. One of the main things I want to talk about is what makes this one different from its predecessors, because we already have the Matribox 2. This is the same thing, but it's the Matribox 2 Pro. So what exactly makes this pedal pro in comparison to its predecessor, the Matribox 2? And I just want to say right from the start, there is so many different things that this can do, not just with the functions inside, but the exterior functions too, and the connection capabilities and everything like that. So I'm going to leave all of those fine details in the description of my video. Also, Sonicake put out a video explaining what all of these connections do. So rather than me just make the same video again, I'm going to leave a link to the Sonicake video where they explain this. What I want to do in my video is I want to talk about what makes this different from the previous ones like I mentioned, but also in my previous videos, I only really demonstrated the preset tones in the original Matribox and Matribox 2. That's because those pedals, for me at the time, seemed more like I would get more use out of them just kind of using the presets, finding sounds that I like, and then just trying to sort of have a little bit of fun that way. Whereas with this one, I've got an entirely different use in mind for it. So rather than it being for home use and kind of creating cool sounds and just doing a little bit of jamming, this thing is hopefully going to be a great live rig for me. So not just home use, I'm going to be taking this to gigs and using it to get all of the sounds that I need to be able to play a function gig in my band. Because I really feel like this pedal, more so than the original ones, lends itself more to being a great tool for live guitar players. And I'm going to talk about that in just a moment, but yeah, this thing does have a lot of preset tones on it already. Maybe I'll flick through some, maybe I'll do that in another video because I don't want that to be the focus of this video. There's also videos of this already on the internet where there's other people demonstrating some of the preset sounds on this thing, which you can edit by the way. So if you do get this thing and you like a preset, you can always tweak it to make it even more how you like it. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plug this thing in and I'm gonna create my own sounds from scratch, which I didn't do on the previous models. I have already had this thing plugged in and created some sounds already, sounds that I hope to use live on stage in my band. So I'm gonna show you those and show you how I've got it all set up. But what I'm also gonna do is I'm gonna build another tone on this video so I can show you how easy it is to do. Now with the ability to plug this thing in via the USB to your computer, there is software on the Sonicake website you can download which helps you edit all of the tones on your computer rather than on the unit itself, which is supposed to be a lot easier. But in this video, I'm not going to show you that software. I actually haven't used it. And the reason for that is, like I said, I want to use this for live playing. So I want to really get used to how to use this thing just by itself, just in case I'm at a gig and I need to tweak something. I want to know how to do that without having to go and find my computer, plug it in and try and do a tweak on the computer just to have it saved on there. So all of the edits and all of the controls that I'm going to show in this video is on the unit itself, but there is software if that's what you would prefer. Anyway, I don't want this video to be me just talking for 20 minutes. I want to show you how it works, more importantly, how it sounds. So let's plug this thing in and check it out. So here we go, here it is a little bit closer. We've got it plugged in. And one of the first things I want to talk about with this pedal, now that we've got it plugged in, is that one of the first upgrades that we see from the previous ones is that this one comes with an on-off switch at the top here, just next to the where you actually plug it in. If I flick this switch, the unit powers on, and obviously we have the little visual display there to show you that it's coming on. Now, I actually have seen quite a few people make different videos about this thing, and honestly, people are really happy that this thing has an on-off switch. It might seem like such a small detail, but someone said it's just a bit more dignified than just yanking out the power cable at the back there to turn it on and off, and I completely agree. So the fact that this has an on-off switch, great. So when I turn it on, it actually loads up with the last thing that I was using on this pedal. It says function gain. I'll explain what that is in a minute. That's one of my preset patches that I've made. But I like the fact that it remembers what you were doing last so that when you turn it on, it comes back to where you were before you turned it off, rather than loading it up and it goes straight back to setting one and you have to cycle up through everything. So that's cool. I'm going to show more of this screen later when I get into the editing and stuff like that. So for the time being, we're just going to actually look at the unit itself. On the subject of the screen though, one thing I want to mention, one of the main things that makes this thing the Matribox 2 Pro is the screen itself, because it is touchscreen, which the original Matribox and the Matribox 2 were not. They had all these controls, which we still have if you like to use these controls, but the fact that this is touchscreen for me makes a massive difference, and it makes it a lot more user friendly. You can find things quicker, you can just tap it and it's done. So I love the fact that this is touchscreen. So even alone between the power button and having the touchscreen capabilities, this thing is already a massive step up from the original predecessors. So if we take a look at the pedal itself and more of the controls, you'll notice there is 4 switches along the bottom, A, B, C, and D. The Matribox 2 only had 3 switches, so we have an extra switch on this one for even more capabilities. We have the expression pedal as well. The expression pedal on this is actually bigger than it was on the previous models, so I actually like that it's like a full rectangle shape as opposed to that kind of like semi-curved thing it had on the bottom of the other ones. I like this a lot better. I just think it looks better, to be honest. Anyway, so yeah, we have these 4 switches here. These 3 there just control the parameters on the screen there, in case you don't want to use the touchscreen, or if you want to be a bit more specific, because sometimes using the touchscreen can be a little bit kind of inaccurate because you kind of slide too far or something like that. So these switches allow you to be a little bit more precise if you want to. So that's good that they are still there. But one of the main things I want to talk about with this pedal, one of the things that I was instantly drawn to, and one of the things that I think is definitely an upgrade from previous models, is these 2 switches here and what these 2 switches allow you to do. You can't quite see that in there. Let me just kind of flip this a little bit. You'll actually notice that those 2 switches are actually taller than all of the other ones, which is great because if you want to click those switches, you're not accidentally going to hit these or anything like that. So it allows you to be a little bit more accurate if these are what you're aiming for. But these switches here are your bank switches. So let's just kind of go to bank 1. So I'm going to tap here, I'm going to flick right to the beginning. So I've just gone right to the beginning of the presets on this pedal. I'm on setting 1A Matribox 2 Pro. And at the moment, this thing is in what's called stomp mode. You can change between stomp mode and preset mode. I will show you that later. But in stomp mode, we have setting 1A, setting 1B, setting 1C, and setting 1D. So in setting 1, or in group 1, bank 1, there is 4 different sounds, A, B, C, and D in group 1. Then if I cycle up to bank 2 and press it, now I'm in the 4 sounds of bank 2. And then I can go up to bank 3, there is 4 sounds in bank 3, etc. But the best thing that I noticed, if I go back down to bank 1, is I can be on this preset. Let's just say I'm on number 1A, Matribox 2 Pro, and I'm in the middle of a song. But the next sound that I need, maybe for the specific song, is in bank 3. It's not one of these ones. I can cycle up to bank 3 in the middle of the song, and can you see these are flashing there? That means that they are loaded, but they are not activated. Let's just say I need number C3, which is called Rose. I can just literally, when I want, press C3, and it's loaded. So I can jump from bank 1 to bank 3 in the middle of a song, but I can load bank 3 up, and it's not activated until I press the button. So for me, that is why this pedal is going to be so great in a live situation. So I can go back to 1, I'm going to cycle through the banks, you can see it's flashing, it's not activated, and if I want to go back to 1A, when I'm ready, I press 1A, and there it is. But it doesn't actually come on until I press the button. Currently live, I've been using my Hotone Ampero Mini to play gigs with. I've got some sounds that I've made on here, and I've just got to cycle up or down through the preset sounds there. And that's kind of limiting because I can only go up or down, and it loads every single sound on the way. This one is ridiculously useful to me because, like I said, I can flick through, I can go up, I don't know, to number 5 if I want, and then I want 5B. I can jump to 5B and I can load that sound and activate it exactly where I want. And then I can be playing, and whilst I'm playing, I can get the next sound ready. I can go back to that one at the touch of a button. I haven't seen anybody else really talk about that feature, but I'm sure people have figured it out. But that, honestly, for me, is one of the most useful things. I'm going to look forward to using that at a gig. And you might see on the display here that A and B activated together brings up the tuner, and then you click out of it like that. And C and D, if you press those together, that gets into the looper functionality. I'm going to be honest, the looper function, it's cool to have. It's not something that I really use. Maybe I'll try that in future. Maybe I'll demonstrate that if I can come up with some cool sounds and some cool kind of loopy sort of things. But for the time being, that's not really something I'm going to go through. And it's the same also with the drum machine feature. This has a drum machine as well as a looper. So, I mean, it just adds to all the things that this thing can do. But I don't ever really use a drum machine. If I'm going to use any drums, I'll either play with a real drummer or I will program my own drum beats and stuff like that for recording on my computer. So I don't really need a drum machine, but it's cool that it has it, and it's cool that it has a looper too. So there you go, there's a quick overview and a closer look at the pedal itself, but now I'm going to grab the guitar, plug it in and show you some of the cool sounds. I'm going to show you how to create a sound and everything like that, so let's go and check that out. So I've got everything plugged in now, and I think the first thing I should show you is the tuner function. Obviously, let's check our guitar is in tune. If I press A and B together there, it brings up the tuner. Nice big display there, so if I just check my tuning, it's always the third string, isn't it? And I think this is quite a nice accurate tuner as well. It gives you a lot of scope there, and I feel like it is quite accurate rather than one of the maybe less trustable ones. Sounds in tune to me. So I'm on a sound called Function Main. This is one of the first presets that I made, and I'm going to show you how I've got this one set up there. So when I'm playing a gig, for the most part, I need a clean tone. I need a kind of overdriven crunch tone. I kind of need to go up and down in volume a little bit, as well as a lead tone and maybe some effects like delay, things like that. Reverb is just something that I have on all the time. So I've built this sound from scratch. And I've only built it on 31A because I want to be able to cycle up through banks and things like that without having to switch this between stomp mode and preset mode. So I've got this on 31A, and it's currently on stomp mode. If I press B, it takes me to 31B. If I press C, it takes me to 31C, etc. I actually don't have anything loaded up on these B, C, and D. That's why it still says Matribox 2 Pro. But if I go to A, it says Function Main. So that's the one that I'm going to be editing and kind of, well, not editing, but showing you for the time being. This is the one that I made. If I change the stomp mode to preset mode, we've still got the sound, but now all of these buttons here, all of these control buttons only control 31A. And you might notice we have this little screen here, or this little kind of display of all the different things that I've got added to this tone. So for the time being, if I press this button here, it kind of shows you what we've got working with. I've only got an amp, a cab, a reverb, and 2 dynamics on at the moment. So the first dynamic, again, touchscreen, if I press it, that's a noise gate. If I turn that off, a little bit of noise kicks in, so I kind of want that on all the time. The second dynamic is a compressor, so that's kind of just making my clean tone a little bit kind of more balanced. And then the amp, what amp is it? It is the Bassman. And then the cab, it's just the Bassman cab that came with it. I don't even think I've done any editing to the cab at all. I think it was just the cab that it recommended with the amp I picked, the Bassman. And then there's a reverb, a spring reverb on 15% mix, just a nice reverb there. So this, I could play a gig with this. And that will see me through a lot of songs that we play. But if I go back, I'm going to save it. I'm not really going to edit this one because I feel like I've already done it. What I've done, when you're in preset mode like this, you can assign these switches now to edit this one sound. So I think if I press A, you might notice there another dynamic came on. Which one is that? That is the boost. Yes, so if I press A, it brings on and off a boost. So here it is without it. Then if I press this now, it's a bit louder and it's got a bit more bite to it. So that's really useful if I still want to play a clean song, but I just want a little bit more of a push there, but without getting into too harsh territory. So I've set Control A up to add a little bit of a boost. Control B is a nice light. A nice light overdrive, not like a distortion, but just a nice overdriven tone if I want to play like a song that's got kind of that like overdriven tone but not too distorted. C, I think this is a heavier one. Yeah, so that's another overdrive but a heavier one if I want more of a rockier sort of sound. So I've got this one and this one, bit of a difference there. I can have all of these on at the same time, which I'll demonstrate in a second, but D, I think, It's just a delay if I want to sort of then cycle up through some. That's nice. I can turn that off as I want. So that's still all only editing 31A, the function main. So this is my main sound or my main setting that I would use to play a function gig. And yeah, it's so cool. I can edit all of these. I can add them all on at the same time if I want. So here's the boost on with the first overdrive. And I can put both drives on at the same time, which is going to sound a bit hot. Etc. And obviously with the delay as well. That's a pretty hot tone, right? So that's basically what I've got going on there. So I'm going to show you another patch that I made quickly. So like I said, in the middle of this, I could be using this patch for one song. Then I want to flick onto another sound that I've created that isn't on one of these. I've then made 32A. So I've pressed the first up bank there. It says 32 now. If I click on A, now I'm on 32A. So this is called function clean. So this is a setting, a patch that I've made, which is more focused on more cleans if I want. I've got more options here. I think this amp, if I press on it, it is a Tweed Deluxe. And again, a twin verb cab. So different amps to what I had a minute ago. So if I want a slightly different tone, I've got that option too. So if I go off that, or sorry, I've got another reverb. It's still the spring reverb. I've got a little bit less there. And for dynamics, I've just got the noise gate on. So that's this tone for the time being. But again, I've assigned different things to this function here. If I press A, I've got another dynamic there, which I think that's a boost again. I use the fat boost, by the way. There's so many different boosts and things you can kind of choose, but I use the fat boost on that one. So let's hear that with and without. Here's without. Here's with. On the bridge pickup. So I've got more of a kind of driven clean, but it's still very, very clean, which is what I like. That turns it off on this one. Another dynamic, this might be the compressor I think I've put on this one. So this dynamic, yep, I've got a compressor that I can turn on and off. So if I'm playing some clean parts, like, I don't know, Sweet Home Alabama. When I want to do something a little bit more arpeggiated and I want certain individual notes to stand out, that's what I like a nice compressor for, to make those individual notes stick out. So turn that off. Now we've got probably a slight drive. Because even on a clean tone, I want still that clean drive. So this is my clean setting with a nice clean drive as well. You know, and then ready for. And then again on D, I'm pretty much always going to have the D setting as delay if I want it, just because I feel like it's like just there if I need it on any songs. So that's what I've got going on that one. And then the next one I made, if I press up to the next bank, it says 33 now. And again, on 33A. This is called function gain. So I had function clean, and now this is more of a gain preset. So again, all four of these are going to control more of the different sort of gains that I might want specifically. So even just playing without anything activated. I really like that tone. It's clean, but it's got the bite, you know, and it's a really, really cool tone. Then you might have guessed it already. I've got on this one a boost if I need it, so it's kind of boosting the volume, a little bit more bite, but it's still got that clean grit that I like. So this will be an overdrive. Cool, I like it. And then you might have guessed it, the next one. Even more gain if I need it, because this is the gain one after all. And then, obviously I can have both of these on at the same time. I don't know if I'm going to do that yet. Lots of sustain if I need it. Cool, and then obviously another delay. Really awesome. And then if I kick that back off, and I made one more actually, but I say I made one more, this was very, very quick and I've not really done much with it. I wanted a distortion, kind of like a metal sort of tone, so I made another one on 34. And I literally, you can see there's barely anything here. There's a dynamic, I think that's a noise gate, an overdrive pedal, an amp and a cab. That's literally it. I think I picked the Engel. And here's my very, very quick metal tone. I haven't really done much with that one, but it's there if I need it. I can tweak it, I can add to it. Probably will do at some point, but it's mainly the function stuff that I've been trying to do so far. Anyway, that's the presets that I've made. All of those, to me, sound far better than the presets that were already in this thing. And I made those from scratch and it was very easy. So let me show you now. I'm going to go to 35A, a completely blank patch on here, and I'm going to build some tones all the way from scratch. So let's check that out. So if I press up to 35 now, it says Matribox 2 Pro on all of those, which means there's nothing on this so far. And that's what it looks like when you first go on it. There's literally nothing. If I play my guitar, it's just a straight DI signal there. We're getting signal, but there's no amp or anything like that. There's no controls. So the first things first, if I press this button here, I want to add an amp. I think I'm going to kind of replicate the like Marshally tone that I had on the gain one. So if I press the amp, it says Tweed Deluxe. I'm just going to go to maybe like a JCM 800 type thing. There is so many to choose from. So go on drive. Which one do I want? Brit 800. I'm going to go on that one. Wow. So you can hear immediately. Bear with me on that one. First things first. After that, let's pick a dynamic and load up a gate. So, and the reason that sounds so bad is because I don't have a cab on there. That's literally just the guitar straight into an amp. So to make that sound even better immediately, let's just load a cab up. And because I've already got an amp on, the cab that it's picked is probably a cab that goes well with that one. It's picked the Brit Gain 412, so obviously that goes with the Brit 800. And I've got a noise gate on as well. I can turn this down now. In fact, I can turn the noise gate off. We've got a bit of noise there, but with the threshold on quite low, put it on about 40. Let's see how this sounds. And I've done literally nothing other than add the amp, the cab, and a noise gate. I think it sounds pretty great. In fact, I'm going to turn that threshold up a little bit more on there. I think we could bring this to life a little bit more by adding a reverb. So I've added a reverb. And by the way, to add things, as I mentioned, I want to show you how to use this. You just drag and drop from this bottom menu here. If I press on reverb there, it says studio. Put a spring reverb on and turn the mix down just so it's not too much. I like the spring reverb. I don't know why, but I do. In fact, that still seems like quite a lot of reverb for me, more than I want. So let's turn the mix down even more. I could use the slidey features here. Like I said, I can kind of do this, but it's easier to use this sometimes. If I could turn this right down to about 10. That sounds better. So I've made a pretty decent tone, a tone I could definitely use straight away. I could use that at a gig quite happily, especially if you like your more rockier stuff, your AC/DC stuff, or anything like that for that fact. But yeah, that was super easy. So when we started off with nothing, I've dragged on all of these things from the bottom, and I've barely done any tweaks other than maybe the threshold on the dynamics, or maybe the amount of reverb. That's literally about it. So that could be my main tone. So as well as having all of those things, now I can show you how to assign more things to these switches here to have more control over that one specific tone. So first things first, let's just say I want a drive pedal. So I can press drive and drop it in between the amp and the dynamics, because a drive pedal usually goes in front of the amp rather than behind the amp. So it is important where you place these. But yeah, the drive there, it's loaded up with the screamer. I'm going to leave that on. But if I press screamer there, we've got all these other options you can kind of play through, see which one you like. But the tube screamer sounds pretty good to me. I'm not demonstrating my playing today. I'm demonstrating the sound of this thing, so forgive the playing. My playing's a little bit rusty at the moment, but the sounds sound excellent. I'd happily use that at a gig. I think that sounds killer. So I've added that there. Now let me show you how to actually assign that drive so I can kick it on and off when I want on this preset. So if I go back to this here, you might notice this little, in fact, if I go and save, like that, you might notice these 3 dots at the top here. This is the settings for this patch. So if I press these 3 there, I'm gonna go to settings, and then now you see these control things here. So on control 1, which is this one, this is control 1, I'm going to assign, you see down here are my options, because these things here on the bottom are what I have added to this sound. And on control 1, which is A, I'm going to press the drive, because I want control 1 to turn on and off the drive. So I went into the settings, on control 1, I've added the drive. And let's click save. So the drive is still on. And I can now turn it off. Pretty cool. And I can do that for anything that I want with all 3 of these. So I don't know, let's very quickly see what else we can add. Delay is a good one. So I'm going to pick the delay. I'm going to put that after the reverb. The delay is just the warm delay that was already there. What does that sound like? Sounds like delay to me. And if I then sort of, how do I do it? Yeah, I'm going to go after that, go back to the beginning screen. I'm going to press the 3 dots again at the side to the settings. And then I'm going to put the delay on control 4 like I like to, which is that one. The delay for me is usually always here, so I know where it is. So I'm not going to get confused. Which one's the delay on certain patches? I know it's this one. So on control 4, I'm going to swipe across, press the delay, and then obviously save it. And there we go. No delay. Nice and simple like that. And that sounds really cool. Then obviously turn it off, press the button off. So that is literally about it. The only thing I've not really shown you, obviously, is that you can name your patches. So let's just call this one, I don't know, I'm going to call it demo patch, because that's what I'm doing. I'm demoing, if I can spell, D-E-M-O, save, and there we go. But there is one thing I want to mention when you kind of make a patch like this. I was wondering how, when I flick onto a patch that I've made, what the default setting on that patch will be. Let's just say every time I go to this one, I want none of these things to be on, like that I've added. I don't want the drive and I don't want the delay. All I have to do is save this patch in that mode. So if I flick out of this and I go back to it, you'll see the drive and the delay aren't on. So let's kind of go to the next one. I'm back in the metal one now, then I'll go back up to the one that I've just made. The drive and the delay aren't on, they're not on. But if I tap these on, and then I save it again, so now I've saved it with these on, I'm gonna go back out of it, then back into it, and you'll see that they're on. So whichever function you want to be the default setting for that, just make sure you save it like that so that you can click onto it and it's not gonna say have all the delay and all the overdrive on it to start with when you might not want it that way. So that's just something to be aware of. But yeah, I'm gonna turn those off and save it again like that. And I think that's a pretty good tone. And there you go, that's basically it. Is there anything else that I've missed? I mean, there's so many other things on the bottom that you can add. There's wah. Oh yeah, that's another thing. So this is the expression pedal. Obviously, you can assign pretty much anything to this that I'm aware of. You can assign wah to this. You can assign, obviously, volume. You would do that the same way. So if I kind of go here to the main screen of this tone, I'm going to press the 3 dots, go to the settings, and I would select the expression there. So now you can see the expression pedal is lit up, and then I can assign in the same way anything that I want to, any expression to this pedal if I want to. For the time being, I'm not going to do that, but that's how you would do that. That's how you would put wah on there, or volume. I've even seen videos of people assigning delay to this, or tremolo, which is really cool because then you can really control how much delay or tremolo you have. If you have it off, no delay. If you press it down, you have your full delay, or you can even find it somewhere in the middle. And as mentioned earlier, I could be in this tone, and I want to flick down to my clean tone, so I could go to function clean. It still hasn't loaded. I'm on that one, and then let's just say I want the clean tone. I click out, and I've changed my tone like that. And I've got my clean tone. Then I want to go to my function gain tone. I can click that, but then I want to quickly add on a distortion. I can literally swap so easily between all of them, and that, for me, is excellent. And like I mentioned, there is literally so many different amps and cabs and everything like that. I mean, if I very quickly, I'll go back to that one that I just made a second ago, the demo one, and I'm just going to flick through some of the different amps so that you can hear it. That was the Brit 800, but if I go right back to the beginning and flick through all of them, this is the first one we have. Obviously a Vox kind of style thing. Loads. You know, which is pretty interesting. You can literally spend ages finding the right one for you, you know, but I just like, I like most of them, to be honest, I'm not gonna lie. And oh, you might have seen a second ago, if I go on amp, they've even got bass amps. So if you're a bass player, there's bass amps, there's acoustic amps. I think that's about it for your amps, but you know, clean, drive, high gain, bass, and acoustic. So literally, it caters to so many different tastes. It's really, really cool. And on my intro to this video, I made a little track using this. I actually used some of the inbuilt presets for that track at the beginning, and I used bass on that as well. The bass sounds were from this, all the guitar sounds were from this with no tweaks or anything like that. So yeah, that was pretty cool. That was nice and easy to make. But that's just a quick look at how easy it is and how good it sounds very, very quickly. So there you go, guys. There's the Sonicake Matribox 2 Pro. Definitely an upgrade from the previous Matribox 2 and definitely from the Matribox, the original one. I hope you enjoyed this video and a look at how to actually use this thing to be a little bit more creative rather than just use the presets in the thing. They sound okay and they can all be tweaked, but like I said, I think this thing comes to life when you start creating your own sounds from scratch. And as you can see in this video, it really doesn't take long to get a really, really good sound, something extremely usable, whether it's for live use, whether it's for recording at home, or just for having a little bit of fun with. And I was hoping this video wasn't going to be too long, but even after everything in this video, I still feel like I haven't even scratched the surface of this pedal. So Maybe I'll make an update video about this pedal at some point if I figure out any new cool things, or if I find any new cool presets, or like I said, mess about with the drum machine or the looper. I haven't even touched that or anything like that. But there is so many more things you can do with this. You can add an external expression pedal. It's got an effects loop. I've not even talked about that. You can literally plug outside pedals into this thing, like your own drives, delays, whatever pedal you've got on your actual pedal board, they can go into the effects loop of this thing, so you can use this as your amp and use external pedals. That's awesome. It's got an XLR output left and right rather than just the jack cable things, you know, MIDI, auxiliary in, headphones, and like I said, the really cool power switch there. But as I said, there's a link to a video by Sonicake where they talk about all these functions in a little bit more detail. So rather than me go into the same things again, check out that video as well. Now, if you do want to pick up the Sonicake Matribox 2 Pro, there is a link in the top of the description where you can go and find one, and it's an affiliate link, so it helps the channel out a little bit. I obviously get a little bit of commission from that. Sonicake did send me this pedal to review and kind of demo and everything like that, but everything I've said in this video is my own opinions. So I want to say a massive shout out and thank you to Sonicake for sending me this, as well as the other ones as well. I've really enjoyed this one, definitely most of all. And as I said, I'm pretty sure that this is going to replace my entire live rig, you know, and I'm looking forward to actually going to a gig and using this thing, plugging it in and seeing how it sounds. Probably going to tweak things more after that experience. I might even end up tweaking things at a gig, which is why I wanted to get used to using this thing from the touchscreen or these controls rather than use the PC or Mac software, the computer software. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave it a like, leave me a comment to let me know what you think of the Sonicake Matribox 2 Pro. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe. I make lots of guitar and music related content, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. So take care.